Objective geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solved question paper of UPSC Combined Geoscientist Prelims 2025 question paper. And I hope this solved question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSR, NetGate, GSI and other exams. Welcome to set 1. Coming to the first question. Which one of the following pairs is not correctly matched? A. Cinder cones. A bowl-shaped pit found at the summit of most volcanic mountains surrounding the central vent. B. Stratovolcanoes. Mount Fuji in Japan is an example for stratovolcanoes. C. Calderas. Large, steep-walled, basin-shaped depression much larger than the crater. D. Diatreme. Kimberlite pipes are perhaps most exotic diatremes. So from this, we have to choose the which is not correctly matched. So from this, stratovolcanoes, it's a Mount Fuji in Japan. It's an example. It is correctly matched. And caldera, these are large, steep-walled, basin-shaped depressions, much larger than the crater. This is also correct. And diatremes, these are the kimberlite pipes. These are perhaps the most exotic diatremes. So the one which is not correctly matched is A, that is known as a cinder cones. A bowl-shaped pit which is formed at the summit of the most volcanic mountains surrounding the central vent is not the correctly matched. So that's why A is the correct option. Next question. Considering that there is no erosion and thickness of the crust is doubled, the change of elevation because of isostasy would be roughly A. 50%, B. 40%, C. 20% and D. 10%. So as there is no erosion and the thickness of the crust is doubled, the change of the elevation because of the isostasy, it would be roughly 50%. A is the correct option. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding hotspot. Statement 1. A hotspot is an area of volcanism, high heat flow and crustal uplifting. Statement 2. Hotspot is the surface manifestation of the mantle plume and partial melting. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? A. Both statement 1 and 2 are true and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. B. Both statement 1 and 2 are true and statement 2 is not the correct explanation of statement 1. C. Statement 1 is true but statement 2 is false. And D. Statement 1 is false but statement 2 is true. So the correct option goes as A. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. That means a hotspot is an area of volcanism and high heat flow and crustal uplifting, and this hotspot, it is a surface manifestation of the mantle plume and partial melting. So statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. So that's why A is correct option. Next question. At any one location, sea level change during deglaciation, it reflects A. Eustatic and tectonic components only. B. Eustatic and isostatic components only. C. Tectonic and isostatic components only. D. Eustatic, isostatic components and tectonic components. At any one location, sea level change during deglaciation, it reflects eustatic and isostatic components only. Sea level change during deglaciation, that is melting of glaciers, it reflects both the eustatic and isostatic changes, with the eustatic changes referring to the global rise in the sea level, which is due to added meltwater, while isostatic changes represent local land level adjustments, which are caused by the weight of the previously present ice sheets, which are being removed, meaning that areas formerly covered by the ice will slowly rebound upwards, while neighboring regions may subside slightly. So sea level change during deglaciation, it reflects eustatic and isostatic components only. B is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following processes is responsible for distribution of energy, degree of erosion, sediment transport and deposition along the shore? A. Beach drift, B. Wave refraction, C. Longshore current and D. Rip currents. The correct option is B. Wave refraction. Wave refraction, it is responsible for the distribution of wave energy, which in turn affects erosion, sediment transportation and deposition. So B. Wave refraction is the correct option. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding depositional glacial landforms. 1. Eskers are deposited by subglacial fluvial system. 2. The larger terminal moraines are generated by fast retreating glacier. 3. Medial moraines typically display a rounded crust and a relatively straight limbs. Which of the statements is correct? A. 1 and 2, B. 1 only, C. 2 and 3, D. 1 and 3. So the correct option is D, 1 and 3. So eskers are deposited by subglacial fluvial system, and medial moraines, these are typically, they display a rounded crust and relatively straight limbs. So that's why D is the correct option. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding drumlins. 1. These are characterized by smooth elongated parallel hills. 2. These are depositional features. And 3. Its gentler longer slope points towards upstream direction from which the ice advances. And 4. Mostly found as an isolated landform. Which of the following statements from the above are correct? A. 1 and 2. B. 2 and 3. C. 1, 3 and 4. D. 3 and 4. So the correct option is 1 and 2. So that means these are characterized by smooth elongated parallel hills, and so these are depositional features. So a drumlin, it is a hill with an oval or teardrop shape that is formed by glacial ice. The name, it comes from the Gallic word druim, which means that rounded hill or mound. And these are usually found in broad lowland regions, and these are often aligned in the direction of ice flow, and they are made up of glacial drift. They have a smooth surface, and they have a wide circular end called as a Stoss end, and a tapered tail. It is known as a lee slope, and they have concentric layers of materials. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding mechanical weathering. 1. Removal of surface material, it results in easing of confining pressure on underlying rocks. 2. Under natural conditions, dilation of a rock takes place at right angles to an erosional surface. 3. The dilation results in cracks running at right angles to the surface. Which of the statements given is correct? A. 1 and 2. B. 1 and 3. C. 2 and 3. And D. 3 only. So the following statements regarding the mechanical weathering is both 1 and 2. A, 1 and 2 are correct because the removal of surface material, it results in the easing of confining pressure on underlying rocks. And under natural conditions, dilation of rock takes place at perpendicular or at right angles to the erosional surface. So that's why A is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following statements is not correct? A. Incongruent dissolution occurs when all the constituents of an individual molecule are separated and remain in solution. B. During incongruent dissolution, some of the released ions, they recombine to create new compounds and secondary minerals. In hydrolysis reactions, mineral cations are released into solution and replaced by hydrogen, producing new mineral. D. Conversion of anhydride to gypsum is an example of hydration. The statement which is not correct is A, because all the statements like B, C, D are correct. So during incongruent dissolution, some of the released ions, they recombine to create new compounds and secondary minerals. And in hydrolysis reactions, mineral cations are released into solution and replaced by hydrogen, which causes they produce new mineral. And D, conversion of anhydride to gypsum is an example of hydration. And the statement which is not correct is incongruent dissolution. It occurs when all the particular constituents of an individual molecule, these are separated and remain in solution. Next question. Which of the following statements regarding pure shear deformation is correct? A. The orientation of the principal axis of strain ellipsoid continuously change during the deformation. B. The principal axis of strain ellipsoid always coincide with the principal axis of strain. And C. The orientations of the principal axis of strain ellipsoid do not coincide with the orientations of the principal axis of strain. And D. It is a special type of constant volume deformation having no stretching or shortening of the lines. So the statement regarding the shear deformation is correct is B. That means the principal axis of strain ellipsoid always coincide with the principal axis of strain. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding transected cleavage in a folded rock. 1. Transected cleavage, it forms parallel to the axial plane of the fold. 2. Transected cleavage forms when folding occurs in a layer oriented oblique to all the principal axis of strain. And 3. Transected cleavage forms concurrently with the associated fold. Which of the statements from the above are correct? A. 1, 2 and 3. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 2 only. D. 1 only. Transected cleavage in a folded rock is called as an axial planar cleavage. It refers to a cleavage plane that cuts across the fold axis and is parallel to the axial plane of the fold, essentially transecting the folded layers. So the statement regarding the transected cleavage in a folded rock is 2 and 3 are correct. Transected cleavage, it forms when folding occurs in a layer oriented oblique to all the principal axis of strain, and transected cleavage forms concurrently with the associated fold. So B, 2 and 3 are the correct option. Next question. A type of lineation found in unmetamorphosed or very low-grade metasedimentary rocks, which are formed by the intersection of a compaction cleavage and a subsequent tectonic cleavage, is called A. Pencil structure, B. Argand structure, C. Schleikenside structure, D. Boudinot structure. So the correct option is pencil structure. Pencil structures are a type of lineation that forms when compaction cleavage and tectonic cleavage intersect. And this happens in unmetamorphosed and very low-grade metamorphic rocks. So A, pencil structure is the correct option. Next question. A highly competent layer embedded in thick incompetent rock layers is subjected to layer parallel shortening. So this type of fold developed in competent layer will be A. Cuspate lobate fold, B. Stigmatic fold, C. Shear fold, and D. Drag fold. So the correct option is B. Stigmatic fold. An irregular lobate fold usually found where single competent layers are enclosed in a matrix of low competence. So stigmatic fold is a highly competent layer which is embedded in thick incompetent layer and is subjected to layer parallel shortening. Next question. Which one of the following statements is true for a supratenaeous fold? A. Orthogonal thickness of the layer is maximum at the hinge and minimum at the limbs. B. Orthogonal thickness of layer is constant all along the folded layer. C. Axial plane parallel thickness of layers is constant all along the folded layer. D. Orthogonal thickness of layers is minimum at the hinge and increases towards the limbs. So the statement which is true for the supratenaeous fold is D. That is, the orthogonal thickness of layers is minimum at the hinge and it increases towards the limbs. So a supratenaeous fold is a fold in which the beds are thinner at the crust and thicker at the trough. And these folds are also known as a compaction folds. Next question. Consider the following statements regarding brittle shear zones. 1. The brittle shear zones are also known as frictional shear zones. 2. The brittle shear zones are gently confined to the uppermost 10 to 15 kilometers of the Earth's crust. 3. Shear fractures have relative moment perpendicular to the fracture wall. And 4. In brittle shear zones, breaking of rock occurs along macro scale fracture planes or zones. Which of the statements are correct? A. 1 only. B. 1 and 2. C. 2 and 3. D. 1, 2 and 4. The correct statement regarding the brittle shear zones are 1, 2 and 4. The brittle shear zones are also known as the frictional shear zones, and the brittle shear zones are generally confined to the uppermost part, that is of 10 to 15 kilometers of the Earth's crust. And in brittle shear zones, breaking of rock occurs along the macro scale fracture planes zones. So that's why D is the correct option. Next question. Match the list 1 with the list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below. List 1 is a fault rock and list 2 is a characteristics. So list 1, it includes philonite, protomyelinite, pseudotachylite, and degauge. And list 2, it includes like 10 to 15% matrix content, cohesive and glassy, mica-rich myelinite, brittle, faulty. So from the codes are given like a code A, A3, B2, C1 and D4, B, A3, B1, C2 and D4, C, A4, B2, C1 and D3. So from this, B is the correct option as it goes as a philonite. So philonite, so this is nothing but a mica-rich myelinite. Philonite is essentially a mica-rich myelinite, meaning it is a type of myelinite rock that has a high concentration of mica minerals like biotite and muscovite, giving it a texture which is similar to a phyllite rock, and hence the name philonite. Next is a protomyelinite. So protomyelinite is it consists of 10 to 50% matrix content. Protomyelinite is a type of myelinitic rock that contains more than 50% porphyroclasts. It is a rock that is in the early stages of myelinization. And pseudotachylite. So pseudotachylite, it is cohesive and glassy. Pseudotachylite, sometimes known as it's an extremely fine grained to glassy, dark, cohesive rock occurring as veins that form through the frictional melting and subsequent quenching during earthquake on large scale landslides and impact event, like due to meteoritic impact events. And next is the gauge. So this gauge, it includes the brittle faulting. So gauge is considered as a brittle fault feature, meaning it is formed through brittle deformation processes, typically occurring near the Earth's surface. where rock fractures easily under stress, creating a fine-grained clay-like material along a fault zone. So that's why B is the correct option, like A3, B1, C2 and D4. Next question. Glucophane, a mineral formed in low temperature, high pressure metamorphic rocks, has the chemical formula. A. Mg7Si8O22OH twice. B. Calcium iron silicate, that is Ca2Fe6Si8O22OH twice. And C. Na2Fe3Fe2 plus silica 8 and O22OH twice. And D. Na2Mg3Al2Si8O22OH twice. So the correct option is D, that is Na2Mg3Al2Si8O22OH twice. Next question. In a trioctahedral layer silicate, A. All the three octahedra within each hexagonal ring of tetrahedra is occupied by ions. B. 2/3 of three octahedra within each hexagonal ring of tetrahedra is occupied by ions. C. All octahedra within each hexagonal ring of tetrahedra remain vacant. And D. There is no octahedral site in a layer silicate. So the correct option is, in a trioctahedral layer silicate, 2/3 of the three octahedra within each hexagonal ring of tetrahedra is occupied by the ions. Next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1. Illite is essentially fine-grained muscovite with some of the potassium leached out and replaced by weakly bound water. And statement 2. Vermiculite is a leached biotite with some interlayer water. Which of the statements is correct? A. Neither 1 or 2. B. Both 1 and 2. C. 1 only. And D. 2 only. So the correct option is both 1 and 2. Statement 1 and 2 are correct. So statement 1, it is illite. It is essentially a fine-grained muscovite with some of the potassium. It is leached out and replaced by weakly bound water. So illite is a clay mineral that is found in sedimentary rocks, soils, and metamorphic rocks. It is also known as hydromica or hydromuscovite. And statement 2, vermiculite, it is a leached biotite with some interlayer water. Essentially, vermiculite is considered as a leached form of biotite, meaning that when biotite undergoes weathering processes, particularly the leaching of potassium ions, it transforms into vermiculite. The structure remains similar, but the loss of the potassium, it allows for a significant expansion when hydrated, which is the key characteristic of vermiculite. So both the statements 1 and 2 are correct. So B is the correct option. Next question. An element or compound that can exist in more than one crystallographic structure is known as A. Polymorph, B. Pseudomorph, C. Isomorph, and D. Paramorph. Very straightforward question. An element or compound that can exist in more than one crystallographic structure is known as a polymorph. Polymorphism, it refers to the ability of a substance to crystallize into multiple different crystal structures, with each distinct structure considered as a polymorph of the original substance. A is the correct option. Hope you have followed the content and the questions. See you in the next video. Your suggestions are most welcome. Thank you for your time.